Hello, beautiful friends. This is yoga for when you really don't feel like doing yoga. So maybe it's in the morning and you didn't get great sleep, or just any time throughout the day that you need to move your body, but you just are a little low on energy. So I'll work on making that hard. All you need is a supportive floor surface and a roll. So you might have a neck roll like I do, or you might just roll up a blanket or a towel. So you can pause the video if you need to grab that. The first thing we'll do is lay back over it with it just below our shoulder blade points. So kind of tucked into where your armpits are, just a little bit lower. And you can go ahead and lay back over that as long as it's comfortable. So if you rolled up a blanket or a towel, know that you could make it firmer or smaller or larger. You just want it to be a subtle roll, so nothing too intense here. You might like to support your head with your hands or change and experiment with some various arm shapes. It might feel good to your low back to have your knees bent, fallen in together with your feet a bit wide. So be sure to check in with yourself, take some big, slow, deep breaths, and give yourself permission to readjust anything that you may need to here. Again, you could experiment with different shapes with your arms or legs. If you want to throw on a little relaxing music in the background, you can. And you can always scoot just a smidge higher or just a smidge lower. And you could stay here for several minutes or just until I cue you on to the next bit. So it's really just about taking time for yourself, to check in with yourself, to honor yourself, to just have a bit of quiet, nourishing time for yourself. And just whenever you're ready, no rush, of course, you could catch up if you're still feeling it there. You're going to move that roll to the back of your neck. So be careful with this one. You want it to be down fairly low, the base of your neck, and maybe give your chin a little tuck to lengthen your neck as you slowly lay your head back over it. And I often feel a little compelled to do some little nods, yes and no, while I'm here, maybe to stretch my jaw or my eyes, and to, again, experiment with exploring some different shapes or direction for the arms. So you might like to have them resting on your belly, you might like to have them out to the sides or overhead. So we're just aiming to re-support the cervical curve here that so many of us lose from forward head carriage, all of the time that we have to spend sitting and reading or looking at the computer. You could always give yourself a nice little face massage just gently here. If your hands are clean and you feel okay with that, you could even give yourself a little head massage. You don't really have to be using any specific technique, but just trusting that you kind of know what feels good to you. Taking plenty of slow, deep breaths into and back out through your nose. And just giving your neck as much time on that roll as feels safe for you. So a minute or two, or perhaps even a couple minutes longer, if that feels good. And if you haven't explored taking your arms down by your sides or out to the sides or overhead, you might like to do that. Just moving really carefully, cautiously, compassionately, aiming to have plenty of unconditional loving kindness for yourself in this practice. And just when you're ready, we're going to slip that roll out from underneath and now put it parallel to the spine. So the first two, we had the roll perpendicular to the spine. Now you're going to turn it to be parallel to your spine with just the base of your skull, the base of your head resting at the very top there. So it's up to you if it feels safe to have a little bit more of your head off of the roll or a little bit more of your head on that supportive roll. But we're just giving ourselves, again, a little bit of gentle counter stretching to all the time that we maybe spent curled up at night when you were asleep, or reaching forward to work on the computer, or on your phone during the day. Just giving your spine a chance to really open the heart space, the front of the body. Just enjoying several slow, deep breaths into and back out through your nose here. You might like to be perfectly still, or again, experiment with nods or moving the arms or legs. And then just when you're ready, again, no rush, slip that roll out from underneath of you, set it off to the side, and start to alternate drawing one knee in towards your chest and then the other. So what I want you to do is situate your upper body so that it can be completely relaxed. You might like to use your hands as a pillow. And see if you can make this movement happen with just the core without letting your pelvis rock. So if you had that down and you might like to take it up one notch, then you could do the opposite here. So rather than lifting one leg or the other, we'll tap down one leg and then the other. You want to keep the connection of your low back to the ground. Keep relaxing your head, neck, and shoulders. And if you're tapping, then start to tap crisscross across the midline of the body. Right foot taps to the left, left taps to the right. And now start to tap outside the midline of the body. So just varying this movement a little bit. Going nice and slow, trying to stay wrapped up around your around your torso, around your core. And then when you're ready, we're going to transition this into some big, slow bicycling movement. Again, trying not to let your low back lift, so keeping that gently pressed to the earth. Keep relaxing or re-relaxing your head, neck, and shoulders. And after a few of those bicycles, you could start to reverse that, pedaling backwards, super slow, and trying to make as big of a circle as you possibly can with each foot. Then take it over to one side. So pedaling in reverse, again, over to one side as far as you can reach the legs without straining the head, neck, or shoulders, and then reverse that to pedal forward again. Few strokes over to that one side, and then when you're ready, switch to the second side. So slow pedaling forward and then slow pedaling backward to that second side. And whenever you need to or feel ready to rest, we'll take Supta Baddha Konasana here, or this reclined bound angle or butterfly stretch with the soles of the feet together and the knees dropped open. And then really breathing into the belly, the ribs, and the chest to stretch out those deep abdominal muscles that we've just warmed up a bit. Hanging out there as long as it serves you, and just whenever you're ready, we'll do a little gentle counter stretch by taking the feet wide and then rocking the knees side to side, maybe really letting your hips and body lift with that stretch. And you can hug the knees into your chest and rock for a few breaths. And from here, you might like to roll over onto one side to sit up, or take a few rocks forward and back to sit up. I woke up with a little kink in my neck, so I'm just giving a little massage there. You can always do a little self-massage here at any point. And just when you're ready, come around onto hands and knees. You could also do this range of motion seated if that feels better. Just cat and cow. Inhale to extend the spine. Exhale to flex and round. Inhale, spinal extension or cow pose. Exhale to round, spinal flexion and cat. Feet could be pointed or flexed. You might start to lean a little forward and back. You might start to take lateral flexion, bending the spine side to side, or even circling your whole spine and body around in a big circle. Just take a couple breaths to move intuitively in your own body there. And when you're ready, we'll melt into child's pose. It might feel good in your body to take knees wide and feet close together and to stretch the arms out. If your forehead doesn't reach the ground, you could stack it on a block or on your stacked hands. You might like to get a little extra shoulder stretch by coming up to these eagle claws, coming up onto your fingertips here, but really breathing up and down the length of your spine. And a couple variations here, you might like to bring prayer hands to the back of your head. So if you take this option, you want to walk elbows in a little closer together and as far forward as you can, really letting your heart and belly drape towards the ground, breathing up and down the length of your spine, letting breath stretch in between each of your ribs. Softening everywhere you can and lingering here as long as you like, only when you're ready, making your way forward onto your belly. Take those same eagle claws out to the sides, and there's not much weight in the hands. We're just going to roll the body up on an inhale and then slow roll down on an exhale. You want to have your core engaged and your hips pressed into the earth. So for me, it's easier to feel that support with my feet flexed, but you could point them and press them down as well. And then from the upright position there, you're going to start to alternate, dropping one shoulder towards the center and then the other, just a couple of times if that feels okay to you. And then slide your hands down by your ribs, elbows in, and hands are pretty close here. Just coming up as high as feels good to you, maybe high cobra or up dog. And then if you're able to, downward facing dog. So this is a pretty active pose. You might not have the energy for it. You could always take another child's pose or linger in that cobra or up dog. But if you've come to down dog, alternate, gently bending one knee and then the other, stretching out the other leg. Stretch your fingers wide. Make sure you're pressing into your fingertips, not your wrists. And then when you're ready, just walk your feet forward to a forward fold or ragdoll. Now you might like to bend your knees quite generously here. Give a little half lift, flat back as you breathe in, and then drape back down as you breathe out. Now you can also bend the knees and support your arms on them if it doesn't feel comfortable or safe for you to take your head very far below your heart. If it does feel okay, you can let yourself fold and hang. Alternate, nodding the head yes or no. Sometimes I like to kind of give my head a little support, maybe another little facial massage, or walking the fingertips out and kind of letting the upper body drape. You could grab opposite elbows or whatever serves you there. Just be safe and listen to what your body's telling you. Move with care. And then turn sideways on your mat when you're ready and take your feet apart as wide as you can comfortably. You could always have the knees a little bent or squeeze them up straight. And here I've walked my hands pretty far out, but I didn't have any weight in them. I was just using that to kind of help drape my spine down. So if you'd like, you could take a half yogi squat to one side, or even just a simple side lunge leaning to one side just as far as you're able to. You don't have to go down very far. And then when you're ready, we're going to come all the way to stand with the feet turned out into goddess pose. Take a few big shoulder rolls up, back, and down. Try to turn the knees out in the same direction as the toes. And you might lose your balance a little bit here, especially if you're closing your eyes. You could clasp hands behind your low back and stretch them away. And then when you're ready, give yourself a big hug. Just notice which arm is on top. And then come to eagle arms, where you lift the arms, try to bring the backs of the hands closer together. And then just lift and lower the arms a few times. You might be able to wrap the arms up even tighter. And then with the elbows shoulder height, start to tip the hands and the head to one side and then the other a couple times slow. And when you're ready, just release that counter stretch by clasping the hands behind. Maybe switch the lacing of your fingers. And then give yourself a hug with your opposite arm on top from the last time. And eagle arms again. Lift on an inhale and lower on an exhale. Make sure you're sinking the hips nice and low, staying strong there. And then tipping the eagle arms and your head side to side a few times if that feels okay for your neck. Then we're going to turn to one side or the other, doesn't matter which, into a simple lunge. If you like to bring your back knee down, you're welcome to. Just clasping the hands behind again if that feels okay, if it's accessible. And breathing into the chest. So we're strong in the legs and core here, just breathing into the upper chest. Then the chin could tuck or lift. And then when you're ready, bring the hands down and take as deep of a lunge as is comfortable for you that you can relax into here. So dropping your hips heavy. I've dropped my head slowly, heavily here as well. It may feel better to you to lift it. And then when you're ready, you're going to walk around to the other side to take that high or low lunge on that second side. Totally okay if you lose your balance a little bit. Always a place of non-judgment for ourselves and one another here. So finding your balance, clasping hands behind if that feels safe. Taking some big deep breaths, strong in the legs and core to really breathe that spaciousness into the upper chest. Making any small or large adjustments that your body is calling you to. And then when you're ready, we'll take that low lunge hip stretch here, so you could inchworm that knee back as far as is comfortable for you. So not forcing a stretch, just one we can really breathe and relax into. That back foot could be pointed or flexed. Letting your hips drop and your heart to lift, whether your head is lifted or not. And then just when you're ready, we're going to turn back towards the long end of the mat and come into malasana or yogi squat. So turning the toes out just a bit and only sinking the hips as low as you can with the heels grounded. So that might not be as low as I've gone here, and that's okay. You can take another ragdoll or uttanasana, standing forward fold here, if that feels okay. You could go back and forth between that malasana yogi squat and this uttanasana, standing forward fold, several times if you like, or you could hang out in one or the other. If you're hanging in that forward fold, you might grab opposite elbows. Take a generous bend in the knees so that there's no force, no strain. So making any adjustments that you need or skipping it if you're feeling discomfort. And then when you're ready, come all the way down onto your back. Again, you could support your head with your hands. And we'll take recline pigeon, so crossing one ankle over the opposite knee or thigh. And whichever ankle is crossed, you want to guide that knee and thigh away from you. If you're able to, you might draw the legs in just with the strength of the legs and core here. So the ankle that's crossed, you want to again be guiding that knee away from you, even if you're drawing the opposite knee in. Taking a few breaths there and switching sides when you're ready. You might just hang out in stillness in this figure 4 shape. You might like to rock the legs a little side to side and then do that drawing in of one knee as you press away with the other. A few little pulses there if that felt helpful. Again, you could just be hanging out with that one foot on the ground. Breathing into and back out through your nose, nourishing yourself with that breath. Here we'll take a gentle twist. So you might like to have the knees stacked over to one side. You might like to have the bottom leg out straight or bent behind you with the legs staggered. So we'll all be very different in what twist serves you well. So experiment with that. You want it to be gentle, no force, no strain. You want to be able to really breathe here. And so making any adjustments that you need to, scooting your spine a little longer, reaching one or both arms out from the shoulders. You might like to turn your head away from your knees or just towards the ceiling. Lingering in that twist on the first side as long as you feel it serves you. Just when you're ready, unwind. Take a breath or two as you unwind in between sides and then make your way into the second side. Our bodies aren't always as symmetrical as we may think, so let this be a whole new shape, a whole new pose. It might like to be shaped much differently than the first side, so again, just experimenting, investigating without judgment or interpretation, just breathing here, letting your head, hips rest heavy, softening your eyes, your jaw, lingering in the twist on that second side as long as it serves you, and just whenever you're ready, unwinding to pause. And I'm going to take bridge pose here as our last shape before Shavasana. So you might like to take a different shape that your body's calling you to. If you come into bridge in this heart opener, feet are about hips distance. Arms can be down by your sides, tucked in close, or clasp hands beneath you. Heart lifts, hips lift, belly drops in. You might even lift your toes and kind of energetically imagine squeezing your heels towards your body. Lingering there as long as you like. You might lay the hips back down on flat hands for a little shoulder stretch. Move or be still in whatever ways you need. And we'll take a nice little shavasana here. Extending the legs out if that feels okay. Of course, you could rest. It's your final resting shape in any shape. You might like to have legs out wide, arms out wide in traditional shavasana, or perhaps a hand to your heart, a hand to your belly, and we just breathe. Grateful for this body, grateful for this day, for this time, for this life. Nourishing your heart space with the connection of your hand, if it's there. Breathing gratitude into your bloodstream, into your bones. Staying still as long as it serves you. Resting here as long as it serves you. But whenever you are ready, and that might not be for 5 or 10 more minutes, whenever you are, curl over onto one side for a few breaths. And then take a few breaths seated with your head bowed. Again, if you're still in Shavasana, peace be with you. Take all the time you want or need. Whether you're laying down or sitting up, we might let our mind just kind of rest on clouds of gratitude, grateful for our home, our bed. This practice we can share with one another. Grateful for food or water in our bellies, for soft, comfortable clothes on our bodies. Take as much time as you need resting or sitting in gratitude and grace. Much love.